Hello, everybody, and welcome back to AMC headquarters. We hope that you like our new setup. So this is going to be the new setup for our webinar series from now on. As always, my name is Kenneth. I'm the marketing specialist from AMC Banking, and today with me I have my coworker Frederik Larsen from sales. And during this webinar, if you haven't been here before, you can always ask questions during the webinar, and we're going to try to answer the questions as good as possible. And we're going to put this webinar on LinkedIn, and you're also going to receive it by mail. So if for some reason you cannot join or you need to leave, you can just watch it afterwards. So without further ado, let's start with spot checking in F&O.
Yes.
I'll leave it to Frederik.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. Hello, everyone. My name is Frederik Larsen. I work as a technical sales representative here from AMC Banking. And I've received the great honor of showing you our new feature in finance and operations, which is spot checking. So spot checking is it's part of our newer modules. It's a fairly new feature. And that means if anything that I will show you today is not available in your finance and operations, well, then you need to update to the newest module, and then everything should be available for you. All right, so spot checking in general, it is an extra invoice approval flow, which is added to your payment approval process. So what that means in general is that if we go through the standard flow of searching out payments that you would have today, you would search out your payments inside finance and operations. You would validate your payments just as you normally would against the standard bank rules, and then comes an approval process. So everything here is the same as you are used to today. Search out, you validate, you approve your payments to send them to be executed. But what we're going to look at today is an extra process which is added as an integrated part of this approval flow. Now, in practice, spot checking means that the system will search out a few of your payment lines and basically ask the user to check this payment information against the invoice details, adding more security to your flow and adding this randomized element to your approval process. So let me jump into finance and operations. 1 second here. Oops. There we go. And let's see how it looks. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search out a payment journal. Let's create a new one here. There we go. And let's call this spot checking. All right. Now, let me search out some open invoices in my payment journal. And let's do no payment accumulation for now. There we go. All right. So I have now in my payment journal quite a few lines. I can see a lot of them here are for the same vendor. Let's just quickly remove these and add them to the single line here. Mark all, mark selected. There we go. All right. So now I have a few individual payments to Opel Audio here. I have one payment to Opel Audio, which is a collection of multiple invoices, and I have a few for other vendors in different currencies. Now, one thing to bear in mind, if I just make it a little bit smaller here, is this icon that we have down here on the settlements or on the attachments that is added to the payment line. This little icon means that something has been attached to the vendor transaction, most likely an invoice. And what that means is that I can see the original vendor invoice directly in my payment journal. So I can quickly see what was what created this vendor transaction in general. Now, showcasing this is only possible if the file, the vendor invoice file here, is attached to the vendor transactions. Now, I know a lot of you out there are using different invoice scanning systems and different ISVs like Xflow or DoUp or LaserJet or whatever, which you're using to import these invoices, to scan these invoices into the system. Now, for most of these other invoice scanning systems, this wouldn't be a problem because they actually add this attachment to the vendor transaction, meaning AMC Banking can show it directly in the payment journal, and your users can see it very easily. But we know there are a few invoice scanning system out there which uses some other functionalities. There could be a link to an external system or something where we would have a hard time showcasing this invoice to you directly. If that is the case for you, please reach out to us and show us how it is, because we're always trying to support more of these invoice scanning workflows so our two systems can work together as well as possible. So if you're using an invoice scanning system which we aren't able to show, reach out and we'll look into adding that functionality for you, because we do believe this is really nice functionality and everybody should have access to it. All right, let's see. Good. Now, so just as always, once you're happy and satisfied with your payment lines or your payment journal here, you would validate it, validate the journal. All right, and the approval process becomes active, meaning I can now approve this journal. Of course, this is if I have a direct communication, and approving this journal would send the payment journal directly to the bank. All right, let me press approve here. And just to show you, if I try to actually approve it now, the OK button down here, it's not active because something is missing. The spot checking is incomplete. So I need to go in here and I need to spot check some of the invoices that the system has pulled out for me. Before we actually do so, let me just quickly show you how to set up, or what kind of setup there is in terms of who should actually do this spot checking and how many payment lines should be searched out by the system and available for spot checking. And that happens inside of our parameters. Good. Now, first of all, to enable spot checking in your approval process, you need to enable this check mark here. It enables a random review of payments to make sure they are correct and follow company rules. Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, you can select whether the one who should do the spot checking should be the first or the second approvers, or any of them in general. Now, this sometimes depends a little bit on what kind of workflow you have when you search out these vendor invoices, whether you have a 3 split, so we have a payment clerk that search out the payments and then 2 separate approvers, or whether the first approver is also the same as the one who searched out the payments. Yeah, but you can change between them as you wish. The other 2 sections here has to do with how many payment lines we should actually search out or make available for this spot checking functionality. You can select either a quantity, meaning a fixed amount of payment lines, or a percentage of the whole journal. Now, in general, I would say this is, of course, in its essence, a fraud protection functionality, and maybe in some case to minimize things like human error. I would say that even a very low percentage, let's say 5%, so 5 lines out of 100, would still have an effect on the the incentive to make fraudulent payments. So even having a process of where only a few of them are actually marked for extra control, this would still have an effect. So of course there's a cost, right? You have your approvers who actually need to go in and check things. So I wouldn't do it for the entire journal, but even a small amount of lines would still carry on the intended effect, which is mitigating the risk of fraudulent payments. All right, let's jump back again to our payment journal here. Jump into my journal once again. And let's see what happens if I press approve and actually press the spot check. So again, the spot checking is randomized. There's no logic behind it. It's actually been quite important for us to add this randomized effect precisely so that no one can game the rules by being under an amount limit or whatever else there might be. So it's completely randomized. 4 transactions have been searched out for extra control by the first approver. That is how it's set up as here. So basically the system is asking me to look at the payment lines that we're making here. We're paying 43,000 here to Opal Audio, and we're paying to this bank account number with this payment type, and from this bank account number, all this information is visible for you here. And then, of course, you can see the attachment. You can verify, okay, the amounts are correct. They're actually asking us to pay to this bank account as they have stated on the invoice, and all the invoice details are as they should be. So if I press approve here on the top line, my name gets stamped on the payment, and that says Frederick, that's me, have actually taken a look at this invoice, have verified that the invoice details are correct compared to these payment details, and everything seems to be in order. And of course, that stamp with my name is available with historically, so you can always see who has approved each of the different payment lines or who have concluded the spot checking. Good. So of course, with some of these payments, there might be a lot of invoices. There's no way around it. It takes some work. There's 5 invoices here. I would need to check each of them, view the attachment, verify that everything is in order before I can actually approve this one payment line here. Good. Now, let's just do one more here. That's a US dollar. They're paying 5,069. We're paying to an US bank account with a routing number, a bank account number, and SWIFT code, and 21, 5,000. Yes, that seems to match exactly what we are paying to. Now, it might be that some of these spot checking, either as in terms of internal policy or just because you don't know, you can stop here and say, all right, well, now I'll wait for my other colleague to conclude the spot checking. Everything will be saved here, at least unless the entire journal is canceled or rejected. So that means another user can go in, spot check the last payments before it's actually ready for approval. All right, good. So let's see here. I have now concluded the spot checking. We see a mark here telling us that the spot checking is complete, and therefore I can actually approve and send this payment to the bank. Now, I'm doing the demonstration alone here, so there's just one approver, and the payment has now been transferred. Okay. As you can see out in the right column here, and this is available historically as well, meaning even after my payments have been posted and executed and everything, I can see exactly, well, which of these payments were taken out for spot checking, extra control. And there's also a dedicated view, which has been added under our inquiries here, called spot checking history, where I can see the exact invoices and payments that were approved by my user. Good. All right. So this functionality here is, of course, it's fraud prevention. It's extra security and mitigating risks in general. So you might already have a lot of different security aspects, whether it's segregation of duties or invoice approvals or payment approvals that you have today. But I do think that this spot checking functionality, by adding this randomized effect, so no one can game the rules that they know, this is I'd say the final nail in the coffin. And if everybody in your organization knows that there's a spot checking process in place, then I think it would be, well, I'd say they very likely wouldn't take the risk to go there. But how many payment lines is of course up to your own organization, how big of a percentage that should be taken out for extra control. Good.
Yes, thank you, Frederik. Sorry, my computer is making a lot of noise. That's why I'm holding the microphone. So yes, if we go to the comments, we can see, I don't know if it's a question or more of a statement, but Anna says, we use Rillion and pallets linked to external system.
All right. In that case, if it's linked to external systems, do try to check it in the newest version whether you can actually show the attachment, because we do have some functionality for it. But depending a little bit on how it's created and how the system is linking to another place, reach out to us and show us exactly how it looks and what information is there. And I'd be happy to see if we can do anything for you in the future, because it's nice to be able to see the invoices directly in the payment journal. Yeah.
Yes. Then we have another question from Aggie. And the question is, what happens if you don't want to approve one or more lines from spot checking?
Ooh, great question. If you don't want to approve, well, I mean, in that case, of course, it's very good that we did the spot checking, first of all. That's very lucky, because we don't actually want to send this payment, right? We want to actually go to our payment journal and we want to fix whatever is wrong. So basically, before we go through with the approval process here, we'll have the spot checking in this function here. And if anything is wrong, if you want to remove something, then we don't want to actually approve the journal and send it through, meaning we should go back, reject the payment, so it goes back to edible, and change whatever we want. Remove an invoice, remove a whole payment, add another invoice which we're missing, whatever it is. Yeah.
Great. Then we have one from Louise, and she asks, is there a log we can see this job action as proof for the auditors not having to go each invoice to find which was approved?
Yes, there is. Both in the payment journal that you have, it'll be visible for you. And if you don't want to go through each payment journal to see which one it was, then the logs that we have under inquiries out here would be the place to go. So if you're looking for anything specific, it should be fairly easy for you to find the right payment. So there's proof for auditors, and of course it can't be changed once it's been spot checked, meaning once the payment has been approved, wherever it's stamped there will remain there.
Great. Elisa asked, did you mention in which version we find this functionality?
No, I did not. I said it was in a newer version of AMC Banking. And the truth is, I can't exactly remember which one it was. I would say in the newest ones that we had, or the very newest version, which should be 365 8.10.0, we added that you can select by approver, which approver should do the spot checking. So I think the functionality was introduced somewhere around 8.7 or 8.8, but I always recommend going to the newest version, of course. Great.
Elise writes, version of D365 F&O.
Yeah, the F&O version doesn't really matter, but the newest version of AMC Banking 8.8 or the newest one, 8.10, would be the way to go.
Great. And Aggie says, thanks, you're welcome. Another question from Aggie, are comments possible with the spot checking approval?
No, but that's a very good idea, actually. There is not any place that you could add a comment today. It's more of an approve, reject. But I mean, it might make sense. So when would you add a comment if you are actually to approve it? Let's see, actually, could it be that? No, yeah. No, but if it makes sense, or if it's something that that our users want, we'll definitely look into adding it.
Yes. Hope that answered your question. I don't know if we had this one. If we use FIG payments, can the system be set up no to choose more than X from same vendor?
To choose, so that has to do with payment accumulation in general. So Louise, I think what you're actually looking for is inside of your bank settings. You want to set accumulate reference payments to no. Then we will never accumulate more than one FIG invoice together. But otherwise, it has to do with when you're searching out in the payment journal whether you want to accumulate multiple invoices together or not. So if it is FIG payments and we see that it is FIG payments, we would never accumulate more than one together because that is not allowed, of course.
Great. And Aggie writes,
when not approving. But the thing is, I mean, when not approving, you would need to reject the journal and fix what is wrong, right? And this spot checking history, let's say that somebody needs to make a change, right? They need to remove something. They wouldn't really look at the comment as to why it wasn't spot checked in general. It would just be rejected and editable once again. So let's say that there's one of these invoices that wouldn't go through. I would say that the correct way would be to reject the payment and then remove that invoice. And if another one has to do it, you're right, there's no way to actually leave a comment, but you would still need to tell them that they need to do something. So yeah, but your input is heard. It might make sense to add a comment section or some way to communicate anything special with a payment journal, either in the spot checking history or actually just in general for a payment journal if there's something that the other people need to know.
Yes, and then Brit. Oh, sorry, we're getting a lot of questions today. That's nice. I see the spot checking function in AMC Banking 365 8.7.0, however, without the approver selection.
Yes, Brit to the rescue. You're completely right. I said 8.8, but it was 8.7 that the spot checking functionality was added. But this new approver selection field has been added in the newest one, which I believe is 8.10. Brit can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm sure she can. Aggie says, we have two teams, one approving and one preparing the payment. That's why. Okay, so it's just a follow-up for the question.
I understand now Louise's question. Yes, all right, yes. So when you have a lot of different FIG invoices, you would pay each one individually. And you're right, Louise, it wouldn't be that efficient to take 5 from the same vendor, right? You want to hit different vendors because you're actually not only checking just that the invoice is correct, but also that the payment details are correct. So as it is right now, it is completely randomized, meaning could easily be a scenario where it would pick the same vendor multiple times. It did it actually in my demonstration as well. But you are right that there might be some logic in actually advancing the idea a little bit and saying, well, for example, if a vendor has already been checked recently, maybe we should prioritize another vendor or something. I wouldn't want to lose the random effect completely, but we might degrade it a little bit, the chance that this vendor gets taken again, if there's already a different spot checking that has been done for that vendor recently. Yeah, so as it is right now, unfortunately, Louise, no, the system is could potentially select multiple invoices from the same vendor.
Okay, then she adds up, it is when we have make payments, we may have 100 individual FIG payments, then spot checks may choose all the same vendor.
Oh, sorry. No, it is when, yeah, that was what I...
Oh, it's the same one. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
And then Erica says, I have version 365.8.10, but I can't see the approver section.
Okay. Well, it looks like I'm jumping a little bit around in my version numbers. Then it must be 8.11. I'm sorry.
Yes.
The newest version.
Yes. The newest version should have it.
Okay.
So Henrik says, I can see the approver section in 365.8.11. So that must be the newest version.
I think we got that covered now.
And we have a thumbs up from Erica.
Perfect.
Great. So a lot of good questions today, actually. That's it's very nice.
Yep. So I hope you can use this functionality. And again, reach out to us if you have invoice scanning systems which we're not able to show correctly, because we want to get as much of these supported as we possibly can.
Yes. And it seems like we're almost out of time, but Henrik is writing something, so maybe or maybe not. Oh, I can see Britt is writing something.
It is always good for a question, actually.
Yes, Britt, it's very nice with your feedback. We appreciate it. Do you have the spot check links for Navidoc? Navidoc?
I wouldn't think so, or at least I haven't heard about it. If we have, again, if they're attaching the invoices in as a standard attachment to the vendor transaction, then it's no problem at all. But if it is an external link, reach out to us. We'll see what we can do if it's possible.
Okay, thanks. They're applied as links, says Britt. Great. Okay, guys, I think we're almost out of time. So we just like to thank you for joining us again. And join us again in, I think it's going to be 3 weeks. It's going to be our compliance webinar. So I'm really looking forward to that. So don't miss out on that. And always, please follow us on LinkedIn. And also sign up for our newsletter, of course, where we're going to send up news. So if you haven't signed up for that, please do. And again, thank you so much for joining us and have a good day.